This is the Black Diamond of professional wrestling, the only product sponsored man of professional wrestling, Scene Nick, and you are listening to Wrestling Nostalgia.
And welcome to Wrestling Nostalgia. I'm your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us for another free episode, weekly episode here. And remember, later in the show, you're going to hear how you can help keep it free by donating a little to the show. Just going to get this out of the way right now. Every little bit helps. Everything you donate goes right back into the show. It helps keep us plugging along each and every week for you for free. And you'll also hear in a little bit about our social medias. Make sure you follow us there, converse with us, respond to things, share things. Let's talk. That's what social media is for, right? It's the interaction, the networking. Let's do some of that. We got a fun episode for you today. We have manager Scene Nick on the show. I've known Nick for a while online. We're what I would call online friends. He's a good dude, a very positive guy. Always had a lot of positive influence out there on the internet and putting it out there. So make sure you follow him. He'll give out all his social medias at the end of that interview. So make sure you follow him and check out his career. Had a good talk with him. Ike had a good talk with him. Ike did this interview for us again today. And we have another promo later in the show, another of the best bad promos. And it's a guy that comes ranks right up there when you talk about bad promos. A guy that wasn't quite known for his skills on the mic. We got Brutus Beefcake. We got early WWF Brutus Beefcake later in the show. Man, he's not like it. He didn't mess up or stumble over his words, but it's just so bland. Oh, anyway, what's happening out there? How's everybody enjoying this season of Dark Side of the Ring? I'm loving it. Some good episodes. The Luna Vachon episode. Love Luna Vachon. That's a great episode out there. Always enjoying that show. I highly recommend that you watch that. And also, speaking of watching, who's watching Heels? I like the show. I like it a lot. And I went into it hoping to like it, but with a lot of trepidation, right? I like, how are they going to do it? But man, I really enjoy the show. It's got a good cast. I enjoy what they're putting out there. And if they just had their season finale on season 1, I'm pretty sure it's been picked up for season 2. So check that out. It's on Stars. And it's a great show. I highly recommend that you watch that. And if nothing else, you get to see a lot of Luke Hawks on there, and that's always a good thing. So what's everybody else watching out there? The only other thing wrestling related that I watch on the regular is the NWA Power. I still enjoy that show. I do try to catch a little bit of AEW now and then. They're doing some things that I'm very much enjoying. And then, then I'm hit or miss. I watch a lot of classic stuff, watch some stuff online. Just whatever really floats my boat. Really not watching any modern WWE. There's just nothing there for me. I hate to be that guy, but it is what it is, and I'm not going to sit through it if I don't have to. Which brings me to a point. Would you guys like to hear me and Ike or whatever review any wrestling? Whether it be modern, whether it be classic, whether it be anything. And how would you like that format? Would you like us to go through the entire show or whatever it is we're reviewing and go bit by bit or give overviews and opinions? I know a lot of people out there do reviews already, so I've never been one to really want to jump into that, never had any interest in that, and it won't in any way, shape, or form replace the stuff we do now and the interviews we do now and things like that. But if there is an interest in there, we might throw in some extra shows, some bonus shows every now and again, maybe once a month or so, whatever it might be, and do something like that. So just hit me up on the social media, let me know what you think. And just let me know what else you'd like to hear on the Dave Dynasty Show. Like I said, we are going to be diving more into the history stuff. I've got some things lined up, some things I'm working on the research for that. I've got lots of things that I'm working on, and they're all kind of conflicting for my time. I don't have a lot of spare time as it is, so it's like everything's at a snail's pace with these things that I'm moving on, and that's okay because there's none of them. I'm not going to drop any of them, right? It's not like I'm going to just let them go. So I kind of rotate around on these things, but one of them is a lot of research and things here for this show to do some historical pieces. John Lawson will be back on the show. Richard Vychek will be on the show. George Lentz will be on the show. We got lots of people. Chris Parsons is going to be on the show. We got lots of people lined up to talk to In the future, George Shire is going to be on the show. Lots of people that have been on the show. I just keep throwing out names that have been on the show, and a few that haven't, that are great, great guys and know Midwest history for professional wrestling. And they're going to be on the show, and we're going to get to that. Like I said, it's just my time's very, very scarce. So, I'm dividing. And I got a big project I'm working on that it's been slow moving, but I don't want to move quicker because I want to make sure I'm thorough with it and I do a good job with it. But I do hope that sometime in early 2022 to have an announcement about that. It's a really cool project, a fun project that I'm working on. So, I look forward to that in the near future. You know what? I might even do an announcement before then. So, because it might help me with the project to put it out there and get some feedback. So you know what? Forget the early 2022. Watch for that announcement very, very soon. I'm going to put it out there soon, and I'm going to get some feedback on it. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. Man, I've just rambled, been all over the place talking about this and that, but that's kind of what I do. So let's try to regroup. Let's take a break. And after the break, we'll come back with Ike Isaacs and his interview with Scene Nick. So stick around. Be sure to follow the Dynasty Wrestling Podcast Network and all of the participating podcasts on social media. The easiest way to find us is on Twitter. You can follow the network at WrestlePods, and you can find all the individual shows at their Twitter accounts. You can find the Wrestling Nostalgia Show at Wrestle Nostalgia, the Ring a Ding Dong Dandy Podcast at Stampede Pod, and the Wild Men Podcast at Wild Men Podcast. Also search us on Facebook for pages and groups. Participate, interact, join the network, and be a fan. Thank you for your support.
And welcome back to Wrestling Nostalgia. I am your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today I am joined with the manager, Scene Nick. How are we doing today?
Doing pretty well. And let me give you one correction there. That is the Black Diamond, the only proud sponsor man in professional wrestling. The man who is everything. He's the manager of champions. He's a commentator. He is everything you need on your event. The one and only Scene Nick.
My apologies. So you heard it here first, folks. Scene Nick, he is everything you will ever need and more. Oh, Lord. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. So, Nick, my friend, where are you from?
Oh, out of Atlanta, Georgia, but now residing in Beverly Hills.
Very nice, very nice. What was it like growing up in Georgia? What was a young Nick like?
Young Nick was wide-eyed and fell in love with a little promotion. I don't know if you heard of it, called WCW.
Certainly have. So speaking of, tell us a little bit about your first memories of wrestling, as a kid. So I'm assuming it has to do with WCW.
Well, what made you guess? My brother was always into WWF, like the Hulk Hogan, so that I always just thought it was kind of, even at a young age, that was kind of hokey in a sense. I didn't like it. But then my dad sat me down. He always watched NWA. He sat me down to watch the first Clash of Champions, March 27, 1988. Saw the main event, Ric Flair versus Sting. From there, done deal, I'm hooked.
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely, that would hook me too. I mean, that's such an iconic matchup too, not to mention. So you kind of mentioned a couple names, but what were some other big influences in wrestling early in your life?
Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, made me fall in love in tag team wrestling. Jim Cornette. I know sometimes he's not the most popular guy, but he has his opinion and he is able to back it up with what he knows. And no one can really trump his wealth of knowledge and his experience. But seeing him and how he can just go out there and finding out years later it's all, improv for him, it's like, wow, he did all of that. Then going over to like the WWF side, seeing different characters like Sherry Martel, who doesn't get enough credit that she deserves, in my opinion. seeing her manage, seeing how people just wanted to kill her literally at shows. And Macho Man, tag teams, underrated tag teams like Power and Glory. And even kind of looking back, if you think about it, Paul Roma was in some great tag teams. Except when he was in the Horseman. I still do not accept that.
Oh Lord. You know, and honestly, that was such a good time for wrestling. Oh man, and you're right. They really did want to kill her. I mean, people were insane. I mean, they still are, but especially back then, man. Let me tell you. So obviously, you know, you have a pretty good, I would say, a pretty good basis in wrestling. You have your favorites, but you have a pretty good understanding of the, you know, what wrestling's all about. So when was it that you decided that, you know, you wanted to be a part of wrestling more than a fan? When did you say, you know what, I want to be a part of wrestling. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. What was that moment that made you say, I want to be a manager?
Kind of, it's weird. It's a spark that's always been there. I like to tell a lot of younger people in wrestling that you had to you can have your passion dream, but you had to get in kind of where you fit in, so to speak. I knew I could never truly be a wrestler per se. Health-wise, all that is just not going to happen. It got to the point where I just, you know, got in where I fit in, so to speak. I noticed on social media around 2015, a lot of guys, which this still happens today, go figure, weren't promoting the shows they're on. So I would take it upon myself to say, hey, they're going to be at this show. Hey, do this, you know, bring everybody you know to this event. And from there, I got the attention of a promoter in Georgia. He hired me on to be in charge of his social media for his shows. And from there, he liked my work. He allowed me to come in and help do a little promoting. Then that led to me working on hard cam, then doing backstage interviewing to helping with booking. And then around 2018, I said I kind of want to step out and challenge myself being in front of the crowd and kind of live that dream, because as an introvert, you never know what you can do unless you just go out and just do it. It might be exhausting to you, but you had to try it. So I started doing a few things with ring announcing first. Then from there, I said I want to be legitimate, so I went to train at a wrestling school, and so I could know at least how to bump properly and how to protect myself. And from there, I just started managing and been doing that in commentary ever since. And commentary kind of fell into my lap when they just told me, as wrestling goes, you're at a show and they're like, hey, we need a commentator. You're it. Jump on. I'm like, okay. I'm nervous as all get out, but you know, I'm not showing that. I'm not letting the promoter know, and I just go out there and do it. Started doing play-by-play, and then gradually try to do a Bobby Heenan role with a modern twist, and do color. And from there, been doing a lot of color commentary ever since.
Absolutely. And yeah, commentary, oh man, so important. I mean, that's one of those roles in wrestling that a lot of people don't think about when they're putting together a show, as, you know, commentary for, you know, if you're live streaming or if you're film taping or whatever the case may be. But then in addition to that, like you said, you kind of molded to whatever role they threw your way, which is super important in wrestling, being flexible and being able to do what they need you to do. But kind of with all of that put together, you know, you definitely took the right route. You kind of started showing at the shows. You did what you needed to do. Did anyone kind of guide you to the concept of managing? Because obviously with managing, it's its own skill set.
Oh,
you can be a wrestler, you can be this, you can be that, but managing is such a skill set. Were there any managers that like approached you to help you kind of refine those skills?
And here comes the sad part with wrestling today, is this: there aren't many managers out there who can kind of guide you along the way. You had to your real basis is old footage, and my go-to was just watching every little nuance. Like, for instance, I'll watch Jimmy Cornette. He'll interact with the crowd a little bit, but it wasn't constant, where it took the focus off of what was in the ring. Um, when his guy, whoever he's representing, was, on top and in charge, he might boast a little bit, but he'll pay attention again to what's going on in the ring. Kind of looking at how people will generate some heat with the crowd, but pull back enough to the point where they're not causing like a riot, for instance.
Right.
Because you want heat, but you don't want all the cops and stuff showing up. That's but you may not get brought back.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You're like, I want to keep working, so I better not get too heat in here.
And also just picking up from just watching the wrestlers and how they interact with the crowd, and kind of fine tuning that, saying, okay, I'm on the outside of the ring. How would I take that same thing they're doing in there, kind of tweak it, have it outside?
Right.
Just doing that, and also like for character wise, just looking into wrestling's past, doing a little Jim Cornette, Bobby Heenan, Sherry Martel, those kind of people. Then outside things like from movies, or even in honor of my grandma, because as a young kid in the South in the summer, you end up watching Price is Right and Young and the Restless. So, movement in my character.
Hey, that's, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of theatrics that go into wrestling in general, but especially as a manager or as a mouthpiece, that those theatrics really propel your character. But kind of speaking of, if you don't mind, so how did you come up with the name Scene Nick, and what does that mean?
It's definitely on my my birth certificate. Everything's my government name, but but it's but honestly, I was thinking of, okay, what can be something that's different that just stands out? Because with wrestling, you always had to think about, okay, what's going to make me stand out above this person, that person? And I kind of figured, okay, I thought about how I like to have, my suits on, custom fit, stuff like that. And I said, I'm just all part of scenery and stuff. I look good and all this. I stand out. So that's where the scene came from. Nick simply came from watching Nick at Night. And you put together, okay, first name Scene, last name Nick. I'm scenic. I'm part of scenery. I'm good. I'm on the scene. I'm what the scene is all about. That's how it all kind of came together.
Hey, take inspiration from wherever, because sometimes you don't get any inspiration. So, hey, that's perfect. That's awesome. I was just curious. I was like, it is a very unique name. That was something that I immediately noticed. I'm like, that's not something I've ever heard before. So it definitely stuck out to me. So you did a good job. But you kind of mentioned this too a little bit ago. We were kind of chatting about different things about, learning how to be a manager, and you kind of nailed it right on the head, that it's kind of sad that these days there's not a whole lot of managers out there. It's sort of a forgotten role. And why do you feel that managers and the character and mouthpieces, like, why do you think they've disappeared? A lot of people have different ideas, but in your opinion, why do you think they've kind of seemed to be phased out a little bit?
Well, to a degree, if you look back at wrestling in the late 80s, early 90s, it did get to a point where they were oversaturated. Everybody had a manager or something. Even the babyface had a manager, like when back in the day, Bam Bam Bigelow had Oliver Humperdinck. It's just, like, this is a little too much. And then then you started getting more retired wrestlers in the role. And then I guess from there it just became, well, we don't really need anybody to represent us or be out here with us. We just learn to talk or do things for herself or develop her own character. And I think what's people forget is that sometimes, in my opinion, good managers, they will actually help enhance your gimmick, meaning that not only are they, your mouthpiece, but they're also teaching you to speak and conduct a great promo and letting you take lead eventually. They're helping you also, when it comes to independent level, get booked on another show. They're putting you out there. They're promoting you. They're making you like the next big thing. Even when it comes to collaborating on shirts, different things within the character, what's your catchphrase, stuff like that. In history, managers have done that. I try to do that with people I've represented. And I just think now, with the way everyone watches WWE and they base everything off of them because, let's face it, they're number one, whether, people like what they're doing or not.
Right.
They're the number one person. So if the independent scene sees, they don't have managers, so why do we need them? And then that's kind of what they're going to go with. And that's why it's hard sometimes on independents with a lot of wrestlers. They don't really know how to work with a manager. They're clueless.
No, absolutely. And honestly, that was kind of like, that's always been my thought process, that the big promotions don't use them. So a lot of people are just like, yep, no, we don't need them. And, but on the other side of that coin, though, I'm not sure how much AEW you watch. I catch it occasionally, but, they've been using a lot more managers on TV. They seem a little underutilized, but this is definitely a step in the right direction. Not knowing how much you've watched, what do you think about their use of managers?
It's good in theory. The idea that it actually has someone out there representing, but at the same time, it still seems like it's kind of an afterthought, so to speak.
Right.
Outside of maybe, Tully Blanchard, again, a retired wrestler. I don't see them as featured as much, or when they are, because they're just so great at their role, or people remember them, that they kind of, you end up wanting to see them more. Like, people are still talking about Arn Anderson's promo from like 2 weeks ago, the whole gun reference.
Right.
It's like classic Arn.
I was gonna say it became a huge meme on the internet. I couldn't go on Facebook without seeing an Arn Anderson joke.
Right.
It's hilarious.
He still got it.
He still got it. Good Lord. But yeah, I do agree that I feel like sometimes those managers or those little like pairings that they do, I like it. I think who is it, Darby Allin and the Sting? I feel like they've kind of put Sting into like a semi-retired manager role, and like I like it, but it did kind of seem like an afterthought because like you said, they just kind of pop them in there and they're like, nobody will notice.
Yeah, that's a word. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But oh Lord. So to kind of redirect a little bit, because we've talked a lot about wrestling, a lot about the manager role, and a lot about your position in wrestling now. But I want to get to talk about you a little bit. So from everything that I've seen, because you and I've never met you before. I've seen, prior to this, I go out and I try and find out stuff about, the different people I talk to, whether that's just stalking their social medias or whatever it is. But from what I've seen, you kind of been known as like a positive and a very supportive person. How do you maintain that positivity, especially in a business that oftentimes gets hung up on negativity?
It can be difficult, especially this year for me, because in this business you have a lot of jealousy, and unfortunately, because of the advent of social media, people just say whatever with no backing, no proof, and all in the effort to hurt you. And I don't know, I guess because I'm pushing a certain age now, but I just look back to like if there's always going to be someone you just don't like. It's human nature. It is what it is. But if I don't like someone, I'm not going to try and destroy them or make up something about them. They live in wherever they are, and I live where I am. It is what it is. Because I always tell people and stuff, I said, are you going to turn down a contract with WWE or AEW just because they signed the person you don't like?
Right.
It's like, hell no, I'm going to be there too. I just won't speak to them much unless we were together. I'd be professional, but otherwise, I'm not turning it down. That'd be crazy.
I was gonna say if they told you they're gonna turn down a WWE contract because of someone they didn't like, they're lying.
And I tell guys, get used to an independent scene. You'll be in locker rooms with people you don't like. Don't get on social media saying I'm not working this show because he's there or she's there. It's like, really? It's just navigating through things like that. It can get to you because you're only human, and I've had my weak points, especially this year. But what kind of keeps me going is I look back on those handful of people who are genuine. They need help along the way, or who else is out there that might need, some help or some guidance or something, because you just never know. And if I let myself get dragged down by what these people are trying to say about me or these situations that happen, I'm not gonna be able to help someone else who's gonna need it. I'll be out. Right. So I can't let them win in that regard. I had to keep going.
Absolutely.
Just this year thought of that and just saying to myself that no matter, because everyone has some type of story about somebody, whether it's true or false. I always tell people, I say, get yourself to the point where when you get home at night every day, you can look yourself in that mirror and say to yourself, ask yourself a question, did I screw anybody over? Did I mistreat anyone? Did I bear false witness on someone? If you can answer no to all that, you did a damn good job and you had integrity. And I can say that to myself every single day.
Absolutely. Hey, those are fantastic rules to live by, and you're so right. I mean, everybody's got a story about somebody, and it's just it gets a little tiring. It gets a little tired. Obviously, wrestling. There's no, just for people who I don't want people to misconstrue that as wrestling's no place for actual like bad people, like people who harm others. But there's always those people who have those petty feuds and arguments and try and use those petty feuds and arguments to ruin other people's careers. We're not talking about actual bad people. Like the people who are doing harm to others. But you're right. I mean, it is one of those horrible things about social media is that there's always an outlet.
Good or bad, and right or wrong, and and sometimes, unfortunately, we see a lot of the wrong. And my advice to a lot of younger wrestlers, I know you need social media to promote and things like that. I get it, but sometimes you have to just disconnect from it. If it means taking a 2-week break from Facebook or Twitter, do it, because that could be your saving grace. That can just help you out so much in the long run. You feel I'm healthier, more energized. I took a month off back in August, came back in late September, and that helped me tremendously.
No, absolutely.
So biggest advice to people is take those breaks, because it can become very, very toxic in this industry. And this is your dream. This is something you want to do. Sometimes you have to, block out the negativity any means necessary, and that means getting off social media. That's what it means. You just got to do what you have to do. Because mental health is first.
That was actually what I was about to say. I was like, especially in any business, I don't care if you are a wrestler or if you're a trucker or work in a grocery store, mental health is number one. So take those breaks. Absolutely. So on a similar note, having that outlook on life. I mean, it applies to professional wrestling, absolutely, but it applies to other facets of our lives and everything. And you, obviously, if you feel comfortable talking about this, you recently had a battle with cancer. If you're comfortable talking about that, how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling actually honestly 100% better. And I had a battle before back. Well, I've had a battle. I've had scares, and then I had a battle again. So it's like it's a rematch. But thank God came out on top again. But it got me in an area where I would never have guessed, because first time concentrated in a mole. You don't think, oh, a mole, oh, that's nothing, but it was spreading, and it made me feel kind of tired and weak and stuff. I was feeling sick. This second one ended up being where I didn't expect it. Ended up being in my nasal cavity. And I've been going through it honestly since April, but I just kind of kept it quiet on social media. But I started feeling kind of weird in my nose. It felt like it was bigger, but I didn't see it where it was bigger on the outside, of course, but I just felt something was bigger inside. I started having my sense of smell affected. And with everything going on with COVID, that, even though I'm fully vaccinated, that was my first thought. I was like, oh my God, I got COVID. And I got tested, several tests, and, negative. And I was like, what's going on with my smell? So I go to my doctor, and they do some blood work, and that's when they found out. And my first thought, and this is, in full disclosure, my shoot job, I'm a mental health counselor. And you help people throughout your career, but when it's really happening to you, it's a little different. And I couldn't talk myself out of feeling anxious, feeling depressed. It became overwhelming. And then you had some of the negative aspects with wrestling and social media, and it just really all came to head in August, where I had to take my break, and I ended up getting my surgery. Surgery was successful, and right now, let's keep on knocking on wood, it's in remission. I'm feeling a little better now. So,
Absolutely. And obviously, we're really glad that you're here today to talk to us. Incredibly grateful for that. So, just that it's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And like you said, I mean, you even mentioned this before, but just taking care of your mental health, that's the best way to kind of make your way through those hard times. And my next question was going to be, what would you say to someone who might be experiencing a major life event or an illness? And you said it perfectly. Take those breaks, take care of yourself, get away from those things that are causing you harm, those toxic things, the negativity, because, you need all of that to make it through those things.
You had to separate yourself from what's going on. Even if it hurts, even if it's something that you love doing, you gotta let it take a little break for a moment and be okay with that. And just kind of stay as positive as you can. Say, okay, it'll come back. I'll come back to it. And, go from there. But you have to take those breaks, or it just manifests worse and worse and worse. It's like it can become like a cancer itself, where it keeps growing.
Absolutely. Oh, Lord. So, on a small, different note, a little bit of a different segment here, because, we talked a lot about, your character in and out of the ring, how you, build yourself up and how you keep yourself positive and motivated in this industry and just in life in general. We talked a lot about your upbringing in wrestling, your experiences and everything else. So now we want to know a little bit about what you do out of the ring. So what's maybe something that your fans don't know about Nick? What's some hobbies or some things that you do outside of the ring that maybe not a whole lot of people know about?
Oh, wow. One thing people don't know, I spend a lot of time writing poetry. It feels real, especially after going through what I've been going through. Is just really therapeutic. You're getting something out that's in your soul that you didn't even know was there. And I purposely do it in the traditional sense, and by traditional I mean just having a pen and paper.
Yeah.
Who does that in 2021? But a pen and paper, and it just feels better for me coming out versus me taking my iPad and doing it. But that's been helpful. Playing video games. Now, granted, I look like somebody's mom or dad trying to play a game. Like, I absolutely suck at them now. And 10-year-old me on the inside hates to admit that, but it's the truth. I've come a long way from being really good at Sonic the Hedgehog and Street Fighter tournaments I used to do to now just, dying every instance.
Right.
It's just kind of fun.
Well, I was gonna ask, I was like, what games do you play?
I like a lot of I still like to play what they call beat 'em ups, like a Streets of Rage, stuff like that, especially the new one, Streets of Rage 4.
Oh yeah.
Always been one of my favorite franchises, and I waited 26 long years for a fourth one, and it finally came. And I'm not old at all, but that, and I like a lot of fighting games. I'm slowly getting into shooters, mostly third person, because people make fun of me for this, but when it comes to a first-person shooter, like, I'm there, again, looking like someone's mom or dad. I'm like, how do I aim this thing? Where am I going?
That's funny. I'm the same way. I'll give it this. I've only been around for like 26 years. I'm only 26 years old, but
young.
Yeah, I'll say I'm a young'un, especially for the type of stuff that I talk about on here. Wrestling from the old '80s and stuff. But yeah, it's so weird because like back in the day, like I was like I played all those shooting games and stuff like that, and like nowadays I just play one player games because I get online and I just get schooled by these kids, and it just that's a hit on my ego, man.
I'm like, shouldn't you be doing your homework? Why are you beating me in this?
Right. Right, exactly. Shouldn't you be doing homework, man? Or go do your chores.
Check your mom.
Right, yeah, right. Good Lord. Oh, but that's funny, though. That's funny, though. Yeah, no, fighting games, though, I will tell you, I say growing up, I played like a lot of Mortal Kombat. And I love to play, what is it, Dead or Alive? One of my brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my brother is huge into Dead or Alive, so I would play it to play with him. So that one's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, young teenage me had some other reasons for playing Dead or Alive.
Let's just say that there are some pretty voluptuous anime girls in Dead or Alive, folks. Let's just put it that way. Oh Lord. See, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, is he gonna say it? He said it.
So I'm waiting. Is he gonna say it now?
I was like, am I gonna have to make the joke? No, Nick's got me. He's got me. Oh man, but that's good stuff. Fighting games, shooting games, all of that, good stuff. Good stuff.
And even the new, it's re-release, but Sonic Colors. I never played it on the Wii. I had a Wii for a little bit, but I ended up giving it to my older brother and for my nieces because I just couldn't get into the whole motion control outside of Wii Sports. So I gave it to him, but I never got to play Sonic Colors. So now when that came out of re-release, and I just bought it for my Series X, and I love it. I mean, I'm not good at it at all, but it's not Sonic and Knuckles for me. If that was Sonic and Knuckles, then I'll no contest. But right now, I'm not good at it, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless.
Hey, that's all there is to it, I play a lot of horror games, and you can never be good at those kinds of games. You just got to be able to overcome the scares. So I feel you there. You gotta just be as good as you can be and have fun.
And when it comes to first person games, like I did buy Resident Evil Village.
Yeah.
And that has a lot of good jump scares in it. And for it to be first person, I'm not doing too bad. So, gotta pat myself in the back for that one. Cause when I told me about it, and that's why I skipped out on Resident Evil 7, because it was first person. I'm like, this isn't my Resident Evil. I don't like it. But I thought I'd give it a shot, and I actually enjoy it. So far, I've died a lot and I hadn't beat it yet, but hey.
Right. Resident Evil, that's my jam, dude. Like that's the game that I've been playing since I was like 11 years old. Like I've played all of the games. Like, oh man, Resident Evil 7 and 8 are great. I'm actually replaying Resident Evil 1 Remake right now because the movie's coming out next month, so I gotta freshen up a little bit.
Oh wow, they remade the movie already. Wow.
Yeah, they sure did. It's supposed to be a little closer to like the games, because
okay.
I guess for people who don't know, which if you don't know, you're uncultured, but the Resident Evil movie from like the 2000s was made by a fellow named Paul W.S. Anderson, and they're good movies, but they're not really close to the games. This one's supposed to be a lot closer, so.
Yeah, because I was watching some of those, and I was like, this isn't how Jill Valentine would act.
You're like, hold up, wait a minute. You're like, I'm picking up some... Right? You're like, I'm picking up some sketch vibes from this movie. Like, I swear. But, yeah, I guess we better get back on track, because a lot of these folks maybe don't like the video games or the movies. I don't know. Anyhow, so on a slightly different note, we've talked a lot about a lot of stuff, but we want to know what we can expect from Scene Nick coming in the future. So do you have any goals for 2021? And as much as I hate to say it, we're almost in 2022. So do you have any goals for 2022?
Oh, definitely. There are a few opportunities like through going back to 2020, 2021 that I had to miss out on because either COVID hit hard or, just being sick. I was supposed to make a debut in Washington State. I was supposed to debut in Las Vegas. So hopefully those can happen sometime next year. For the rest of this year, I just want to kind of get back out there and have as much fun as possible. Nothing major per se. But I do have this show coming up in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's for a promotion known as TPW, Total Psychopathic Wrestling. Me being a psycho is perfect for me. It's I'm gonna come out there. I'm not gonna say exactly what I'll be doing, but maybe I might be doing a little shooting. Who knows? It's it's that kind of promotion. So I just might be doing a little shooting, and I might interact with a wrestler who I think more people should know about is Brad Cash, because not only can he do deathmatch wrestling, he can straight up just go. He can wrestle, and he brings that mix of both to the promotion and everywhere he goes. So this might be doing a little something with him, and they have a great faction there known as the Hollow Points. Who knows? I might be doing something there because hey, it is spooky season,
right?
That'd be fun, but that'd be actually my first show since June 19th when I was in Miami.
Wow, so it's been a hot minute.
Oh yeah, and that was like peak me not feeling well. I still went out there, did my thing. And you always ask yourself, well, was it good enough? And I tell people to, when you get in your head thinking that, just ask yourself, okay, do they want you to come back? And the answer is yes. All right, you did fine.
Yeah.
But they want me to come back, and I'm not gonna lie, this show coming up October 23rd in Knoxville, extremely nervous, and it's more than my usual introvert nervousness, but it's gonna be fun. I'm just gonna kick back and have fun.
No, absolutely. That's honestly, it's all you got to do is, because I'm more of an extrovert personally. I have introverted, sometimes I have that introverted mindset where I'm like, oh man, I don't want to do X, Y, or Z, but for the most part, I'm an extrovert. My wife hates it. I make friends with everybody, but those shows, man, I'll tell you what, anytime that I ever did commentating for a promotion, me and Dave would go do commentating for, every time, no matter what, always get those nerves going. I'm like, people aren't even going to see me and I'm nervous. So I feel you, brother. I feel you.
And that's a good thing, because the nerves mean, you still care.
That's true. The nerves mean you still care. That's true. But that's awesome. So, folks, if you're going to be in the Knoxville area, you know where to go see him. But one last thing I want from you, Nick, because we've talked about it a lot, but where can people follow you on social media to kind of keep progress of your career and what you're going to be doing next?
Okay. Well, outside of a few depressing tweets, because I was in quite the mindset, using positive. So follow me on Twitter. It's @Scenic1. Also, you can follow me on Instagram. An Instagram account is set to private, so as long as you're not like a Russian bot or anything like that, hey, I'll let you in. And then I have my some of my pages on Facebook. I have the On the Scene podcast page. Looking to do a few more things on there coming up in the next month. And also my shirts on PROWRESTLINGTEES.com/SceneNick. Pick you up some shirts. I have one inspired by, because I'm old, another person who I like, Janet Jackson. It's a Control inspired shirt, so hey, you can get that. My Black Diamond shirt, just so many different designs. Then keep an eye peeled, because I have some shirts coming through What a Maneuver, possibly in November or December, so just keep an eye out for that one.
Absolutely. Wow. So for everybody who is out there listening right now, his social medias, where to go buy his shirts and his merch and all of that. So don't run to your computer and or mobile device, search him up, and go ahead and give him a follow. You won't regret it. He's a lot of fun. As you've heard from this conversation, we've had a whole lot of fun getting to know each other and getting to talk a little bit. So go ahead and do that. Nick, before we close out here, I want to give you a very special thank you for taking the time to, on short notice, especially coming on here and talking to us. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. And it's been an honor and a pleasure for sure.
Well, absolutely. Thank you all so much for having me. Been a long-time fan of the show. Been Facebook friends with Dave since, I think, 2016, 17. So, finally being on the show, that's awesome. So thank you all so much.
Absolutely. Well, the pleasure was all ours, but we're going to hand it back to Dave with Wrestling Nostalgia.
Support all of the podcasts here on the Dynasty Wrestling Podcast Network. The best way to do that is go to our Pro Wrestling Tees store. It is at PROWRESTLINGTEES.com/TheDaveDynasty. There you will find all of the shirts that we offer: I Heart Old School Wrestling, Bruiser Buddy, the Podcast Mask shirt, and of course, the official shirts for the Ontario Wildman and the Ring a Ding Dong Dandy podcast. Visit ProWrestlingTees.com/TheDaveDynasty, order a shirt, and support the network. If you would also like to support, you can join our Patreon. It's at Patreon.com/DaveDynasty. There you will get exclusive audio and video clips, early releases on podcasts, and much, much more. And if you would just like to make one-time contributions to support us, you can go to paypal.me/TheDaveDynasty. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for listening. Continue to to support independent wrestling podcasts. All right, and thank you to Scene Nick for coming on the show, doing that interview, and thank you to Ike Isaacs for conducting that interview. And it is now time, that time that you all love, the best bad promo. Man, that's hard to say. Best bad promos in wrestling. And today we have Brutus Beefcake, and I'll tell you, man, Brutus is just so bland. Never been known as a promo guy, though, in whatever character incarnation he's in, but just kind of blah. And we won't even get started about. I don't want to offend any Brutus Beefcake fans out there, if there are any. But he got what he got by being Hulk Hogan's friend. Let's be real. But anyway, this is a promo. I believe it's from 1985, early WWF. Brutus Beefcake with Mean Gene. So let's go to that now.
Who the cat is out of the bag now hails from San Francisco, California. It looks like something actually out of the top shelf of Chippendales. I could only be talking about Brutus Beefcake, one of the greats in the World Wrestling Federation. And there's been a lot of things happening. Of course, you put Big Hillbilly Jim on the shelf in San Diego, California. But now, all of a sudden, out of left field comes Hillbilly Jim's Uncle Elmer. I'm very curious how you perceive this gentleman.
Well, I wonder if you really know what's going on here. I think it's Hulk Hogan in the background somewhere, just knowing that I am the #1 contender. So he gets this big, fat, gigantic hillbilly.
Like a house.
From the guy's bigger than a truck. He could accidentally fall on me, maybe hurt me or something. And Hogan, I bet you're behind this. And I know you are, Hillbilly Jim, for sure. So I'm just glad to see you back so I can break your other leg.
Down where the likes of Uncle Elmer hails from, he's kin, of course, to Hillbilly Jim.
They're all kin down there. Everybody knows that.
They only have two kind, and that's big old good uns and good old big uns. And it seems that Uncle Elmer is a little bit of both.
Man is entering into the ranks of the professionals. And he's going to pay.
I thank you very much. Those are the comments of Brutus Beefcake. We're right back.
Oh, and there you have it. Brother Brudai with Mean Gene. That is early Beefcake. I'm not sure why Johnny V was not with him in that interview. I don't know if there was a period. I'm not real hip on it. I don't know if there was a period there where Johnny V wasn't with Beefcake. I don't know. This is when he first came in, when he's feuding with Hillbilly Jim, and he was feuding with Hogan. This is pre-Dream Team. So I don't know if, I always thought Johnny V was still managing him, but I mean, I'm guessing, he still did some promos like that on his own, even without Johnny V, but Johnny V's no high level promo in his own right, but I think it'd have to be better than Brutus Beefcake. So anyway, that's the best bad promo for this week. And thank you for joining us. We're going to wrap this up. Again, make sure you follow us on me on social media and us on social media and whatever. And make sure you share our posts and help network and all that good jazz. And make sure you help out the show. Contribute a few bucks, whether it be through PayPal or Patreon. Every buck goes back into the show and helps keep us free and rolling. And we do appreciate that. And we do appreciate you for listening every week. Make sure you tell your friends. But that's it for this week. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to get out of here. I got to get something to drink. So, let's go. Thanks to Ike Isaacs again. Thank you to Scene Nick again. And until next time, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.